every card is an archetype in and of itself.
Exactly. No,
because
I like to say there's 384 archetypes in the cube.
Yeah, that is a good way of explaining that.
Yeah.
Just what is your favorite card that has an effect? Put it in the companion zone. You're going to be playing around that effect for the entire game.
The Cube Tutor was at MagicCon Vegas 2025, where I had the pleasure of speaking with some of the movers and shakers in the Cube community. We spoke about their experiences as Cube architects, the cards in their cubes, and much, much more. Today, I'll be sharing one of those interviews. Check it out.
I am here with Greg, the owner and creator of the Companion Cube. It's a cube where you draft it like most normal cubes, and then when you start your game with your opponent, you actually choose one of the cards you've drafted and put it in the Companion zone, even if it's not a creature, any card. And so sometime during your game, you'll be able to just cast it from the Companion zone with the original Companion rules, so no putting it into your hand first, which makes some very interesting game choices because it essentially allows you to have a guaranteed piece of whatever you're trying to do at the beginning of the game. So Greg, let's talk a little bit about this. What was your inspiration behind this?
Well, I had a lot of inspiration coming into this cube. I want to shout out particularly Zach Barish's Cascade Cube and Ryan Sachs' Build-Around Cube as two real inspirations for this project. I drafted them both in 2023 at a MagicCon and had such an excellent time seeing the diversity that Cube can offer. And I knew that I wanted to make something that was as unique and interesting as those cubes.
Right, awesome. So how did the development cycle of the cube go? Did you have any pitfalls? Were there any aha, eureka moments with it?
This cube had a very unorthodox development cycle, I would say. I came up with the rules change, and rather than putting a list together with the rules change in mind, I took a different cube that I already had and just tried it.
Okay.
Said, let's companion anything you want that's already in this cube. And so we started off with this big cube that we drafted with the companion rule, and it was really, really fun. So we just started tweaking that list and changing it, and eventually it evolved into this cube.
Awesome. I mean, that's perfect. Literally all cube is just iteration, right?
Yeah.
You just throw something out there, see what works, see what doesn't, and just change what doesn't. So let's dive a little bit into the cards that we have in front of us here.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the cards that are here, I think I picked some cards that are really unique to this environment.
Yeah.
As you could probably imagine, the companion rules change makes certain types of cards much more playable than normal, right? A card like Academy Manufactor, it's a really strong effect, but if you build your whole deck around it and you never draw it, then it doesn't do anything. Right?
Exactly. As an anecdote, I recently drafted Aqua's Vintage Cube and drafted Vivi, and was extremely excited to play a blue-red deck with Vivi, and never once resolved it.
Yeah.
It was so sad. But if I was playing your Companion Cube, I could put Vivi in the Companion zone at the very beginning, and then just always be able to resolve them turn 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Just bam.
And so there are lots of types of cards that become suddenly much stronger in this context, particularly build-arounds.
Yeah.
Right? So we see cards like Allurin, for example, which you almost never see in Cube, but is a super popular constructed archetype across Magic's history.
Right. Because you have 4 of in a deck that you could want to use it. But
so you end up with a lot of constructed decks that normally wouldn't really be draftable. But in this environment, when those cards that would be 4 of build-arounds, you can always cast them on curve. So yeah, we see cards like Allurin, Wilderness Reclamation, Ether Vial is another great example where it's a really inconsistent card in Limited.
Right.
But if you slam it on turn 1 every game, it can be incredibly powerful.
Right, yeah. You always will have the number that you want pretty much for that. A turn 1 Thoughtseize to disrupt your opponent every time is insane, right?
Exactly.
You can build around using fires without having to dig for it. Now you can cast so many cards each game. If you're doing 5 mana cost and greater matters, up the beanstalk in the command zone is insane. One that I picked out to show off because I really enjoyed it was Green Sun Zenith. So when I drafted this cube last time, I went for Kitchen Finks combo. And because that combo is so reliant on an A plus B and sometimes A plus B plus C combo to go off, this is essentially whatever piece of the combo you don't have in your hand at any given time, which is just super powerful and makes combo decks like that in Cube so much more viable than they would normally, because you'd have to probably dig for pieces you'd be having to play blue or black to draw cards and go crazy like that. And it's just super easy to disrupt. But this adds a lot of consistency that stuff like that needs.
Yeah, Persist Combo is like the premier combo deck of this format. One thing that I try to avoid in this cube is 2-card combos, because if you can companion one of the pieces, then it becomes extremely consistent.
Yeah.
And so Persist Combo, which is usually a 3-piece combo, kind of functions as the splinter twin of this format, because you can guarantee that you have one of those pieces out of 3. So when you're companioning cards like Korean Sun Zenith, Eldritch Evolution, or Collected Company, you can bring that deck together with a similar consistency to a 2-card combo in a traditional cube.
Yeah, and I see that we chose Standstill as well. Is that because it's since this is not a powered cube, this is as close to Ancestral Recall as you're going to get?
Yeah, that's kind of true. One of the reasons I picked out Standstill is because oftentimes when people hear about this cube for the first time and scroll through the list, most players will latch onto a particular card in here and say, oh, I can't wait to companion Thoughtseize,
sure.
Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshares. Like, everyone's got a favorite Magic card, and a lot of those cards are in this cube. And so it's this really kind of visceral hook where somebody sees a card like Standstill that they have this emotional connection to because they've been playing it in Constructed for a long time, and they say, you're telling me I can have this on turn 2 every game, no matter what?
Yep.
Another really interesting thing about Standstill is that sometimes I'll draft control decks that have Standstill, but only on the play, right?
Oh. Sure, thank you.
Thank you. One of the other reasons I chose Standstill here is I wanted to highlight the metagaming of swapping your companion from game to game. So you can choose a new companion each game in any given match.
So if you're in a best of 3 match, you can actually switch between games.
Exactly. So sideboarding against what your opponent is doing is really critical. And in the case of Standstill, sometimes you only want to play this card when you're on the play, right? And on the draw, you might pick land tax, for example.
Right. Oh, wow, yeah.
And so that's
really versatile.
thing. Yeah, I've drafted control decks that are like hard evidence on the draw and Standstill on the play or whatever, because then when you're on the draw, you can slow down your attacking opponents. But Standstill gives you that card advantage and that tempo advantage.
That's really cool.
So that's another really interesting aspect of the cube.
Yeah, so through your experience with this cube, developing it, playing it, having other people play it and give you like feedback, what are some of your favorite interactions or just cards that you've seen played and used?
I just really love all these cards that you don't see anywhere else. Another huge inspiration for putting this cube together was hearing Dom Hardy on Lucky Paper Radio talk about how Amulet of Vigor is, of course, one of his favorite cards. He's famous for playing Amulet Titan in Modern.
Yep.
But it's not a card that you really see in Cube ever.
Yeah, because if you're relying on it, you've got to like hard mulligan to it possibly, and like that's not good.
Exactly. And so this environment is like the perfect place for that card.
Yeah, because turn 1 every time.
Exactly, and this card is really powerful in this cube. There's 10 bounce lands in the cube. You got your Primeval Titans and your Azusas and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's one of the most powerful archetypes for sure. But
excellent.
Being able to have that on turn 1 every time, it turns it from an unplayable cube card to like a cornerstone of the format, which is really interesting.
Cool. Do you have any fun little anecdotes or stories about the cube that really stick with you?
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly too many to count, because I put this cube together, like I said, in 2023. I brought it to CubeCon that very year, and I think we fired like 10 drafts, maybe more.
Yeah, I think that was the first CubeCon I went to, and I drafted it the night before the con started at the there's an LGS near CubeCon.
Yeah,
that,
Misty Mountain.
Yeah, was it Misty Mountain? Yeah, and we all hung out there and drafted for a little while, and it was a blast. I loved it. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, so I just love sharing the project. Like, everyone is always so excited about whatever it is they're doing, because it's so easy to latch onto something in this environment. And the diversity of decks is honestly unmatched by any cube. The packages get to be pretty small because everything is so consistent.
Right. I mean, you essentially are. Every card is an archetype in and of itself.
Exactly. No,
because
I like to say there's 384 archetypes in the cube.
Yeah. That is a good way of explaining that.
Yeah.
Just what is your favorite card that has an effect? Put it in the companion zone. You're going to be playing around that effect for the entire game.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Greg, if people want to find you on socials or take a look at the cube list, where would they need to go?
So I'm Dinrova Horror everywhere. Cube Cobra, Bluesky, Discord. So you can find this here. The short link is just Companion. And yeah, you can catch me at most MagicCons, most East Coast Cube events. I'm around, I live in Pittsburgh. I'm at most of the East Coast events. So yeah, track me down.
Fantastic. All right, thanks so much for sharing this with us, Greg. I really appreciate it. It's a fantastic cube, and I can't wait to play it again.
Thank you.